Hello everyone, this is Joe Gabaldon, and today I have something very special for you, as I always do. This is the PRS SE John Mayer. If you're a fan of John Mayer's, you know him for his unbelievable skill, for his songwriting, and for his tone. This has been sort of a controversial guitar. From the moment that it was launched, the American version, today we're reviewing the Indonesian version, there was a lot of love and hate about it. Some people really loved it and thought that this was like the next evolution step on guitar or in Strats, and others thought that this was just a copy of the original Strat. Now I'm curious, what do you think about it? According to John, some of the features on this guitar are molded after the guitars that he loved from the 60s and 50s. I'm gonna go through the things that I found more interesting about this guitar and how they compare to a regular Strat, and I'm gonna leave you all the specifications on the description in case that you wanna go in more detail. I'll leave a couple links on the description in case that you're interested in buying a guitar like this or in case that you're curious about the other colors. Let's begin with the obvious. This guitar resembles something that we are all very familiar with, the Fender Stratocaster. There's some things that are very Stratty and things that are not. I've seen other reviewers saying that you cannot think of this guitar as a Strat, that this guitar is kind of like its own thing. I respectfully disagree. I think this is a Strat. It plays like a Strat to me. It sounds very similar to a Strat with a few peculiarities, but generally speaking, I don't see a reason why I would call this something else. Let's begin with the neck. The neck feels thicker than I'm used to in modern Strats. It's not a baseball bat type of neck, but you can see a noticeable increase in girth if you compare it with something a bit more modern. This makes sense since that's actually John's intent. Another thing is the radius of the guitar. The radius is also an 8.5 instead of a 9.5, which is more of the modern feel. Interestingly, the frets don't seem to be in the vintage side of things. These have some meat to them. I would expect something really thin, and no, this is more in the jumbo area. The headstock, it's something that seems to be one of the biggest sources of controversy. Some people really hate it, some people really love it. It's interesting to me that PRS decided to change everything about their usual design to accommodate for John's taste, but they decided to leave the headstock that they have normally in their guitars. I found the internet divided on this one as well, and I will be curious to know what you think about it. Do you think they should have gone for something more traditional, well, where you find all the tuners in one side, or do you like this design? Something that's not all the way obvious is that the headstock has an angle. It's not straight like it's usually in Stratocasters. I guess they did this so they wouldn't need the string trees. It's interesting. It's not too pronounced. It doesn't give me the feel that if I drop it, it's gonna break or anything like that. It seems solid and it is very subtle. The tuners are another thing that I've heard a few complaints about. Because of the fact that they are made of plastic, like this last piece is made of plastic, they look like vintage tuners all the way. I have not had that complaint myself. I think they work fine and they don't seem particularly weak or anything like that. But like I said, something to keep in mind. The inlay work, it's really good. I honestly expected to see some gaps between the wood and the inlay, as I saw sometimes in cheaper guitars. Not that this is cheap, you know, but like in Indonesian guitars. But in this one is unbelievable. It's really good. It's as smooth as it could be. It looks fantastic. I don't see any compromises. For instance, the edge of the fretboard is very smooth. All the frets are finished just good. This is something that I would expect in a more expensive guitar. And let's move to the body. They offer this guitar in 4 different colors: red, blue, green, and this one is supposed to be white, but it's yellow. I've heard rumors that they might offer more colors in the future, but right now those are the only ones available. One of the things that got my attention was the extreme attention to detail. And I say extreme, all capital letters, because things like the back plate, the neck plate is engraved, and you touch it, you feel it's right, really, it feels like really high quality, nothing like, it feels like something you'll find in a custom shop or something like that. The input jack, one of those pieces that you would never think it can be improved, and they decided to make a contour, like a little bit of a wave, so that the input jack can come in an angle with no problem, and it's easy to install and to replace. The tuners, just the knobs at the tuners are not standard. You know, if you buy a Stratocaster or you have an Ibanez, many brands have the same type of supplier. We've seen these all the time. Not this, we've seen those all the time. These ones are different, made by PRS. And to be honest, I don't see them much of an improvement necessarily, but I thought it was kind of cool. Now let's talk about one of my favorite features of the guitar, which is the bridge. What I really liked about it is the tremolo arm. What you would typically expect in a Strat or in a Floyd Rose, anything that has a tremolo bar, is that there's 2 main types of access. One is the ones that you screw in, and the other one's the ones that you pop. Both of them I like things about and I dislike things about. Like the pop is great, that's probably my favorite, but eventually they kind of wear out and they don't stay in place, and the screw is just a pain to screw. So what did they do here? They decided to put the screw over here on the bridge so that you can tighten how much tight you want the tremolo to be. So you can leave it really stiff or leave it nearly hanging. You can choose and you can change your mind. It's just, I don't know, it's simple, but it's a genius idea. The pickups are something interesting. They really surprised me because they are single coil, they follow what you would expect in a Strat, but there's a couple things that are different. For instance, they are not noiseless pickups, but at the same time they are less noisy than the ones that I have in my Strats. I found their sound to be a bit more compressed. I'm not saying this as a negative, it's just something that got my attention. I found it to be particularly handy when you're recording something, but if you're looking for a Strat, very authentic, old-fashioned type of tone, the one that we are all used to, I wouldn't say that's gonna be it. It's a Strat, to me, with a twist. Well, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. That was my review on the PRS SE John Mayer. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. You're all welcome to subscribe to my channel, which is, by the way, bilingual, so you'll see videos, the same video in Spanish and in English. If you decide to subscribe, I will suggest that you hit the little bell, otherwise YouTube is not gonna notify you every time that I upload material, and I will see you in my next video. Rock on! I cannot play any samples by John Mayer because YouTube is not very kind to those who play material they don't own. So I'm gonna play something from one of my songs, and I will also leave a link on the description in case you wanna listen to the entire song.